Okay, so best of 2019 dry live rock. This is going to be a super fun one because some of these we haven't talked about a whole lot before. True. And they're definitely going to get in there today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the most popular as voted by you guys. What's the #1 rock out there, and then what?
Yeah, lowest cost per pound, which is important when you're starting to buy a lot of this different stuff. We're also going to look at what looks best day one in your tank and what's the easiest to aquascape with.
Yeah, we're also looking at what's the best for avoiding that ugly brown phase at the beginning of most tanks, as well as the best for bare bottoms, and then of course the best in show 2019, finished up with what we'd like to see for 2020. Okay, so most popular as voted by all of you reefers out there. This is another one of those where it's a total landslide, like 2 to 3 times as much as the next one, and it's this guy right here.
Yeah, this is the Reef Saver rock. We've been carrying the Reef Saver rock for many years, and probably, you know, at $2.99 a pound, easily the most popular.
Yeah, so this is actually Marco rock for a Reef Saver, and I'll just let you guys in on like a little bit of insight on this while we're at it. So we've been buying this rock from Florida for eons, right? Not always from Mark, you know, and eventually we started buying from Mark, and that was the end of it. There were a couple places that we could get it a little bit cheaper from, but Mark provides the cleanest like source of rock out there. The other stuff would come with little bits of crust on it and like iron deposits and whatever. This stuff is always super, super clean. He takes the time to make sure that it is what I want to use in my own tank, and why his is so popular. And Marco rock's just like synonymous with Reef Saver and dry rock. And this is like the #1 by 2 to 3x for that reason, as selected by you guys. All right, so lowest cost per pound, which one is it?
Same as the most popular, obviously, the Marco Rocks Reef Saver, $2.99 per pound. On a lot of them, it saves you like $1 or more per pound.
Yeah, on some others, it's all the way up to like $3 a pound, or double the cost of this guy here. And you know, again, it's super, super porous. You can see all the holes in it, and it's also the lowest cost out there, which is probably why it's the #1 most popular rock out there. And really, if you do the math, you're gonna buy 100 pounds of this. $1 more is $100, $3 more is $300, and it's a pretty significant savings. All right, so best of 2019 looks the best day one. And so what this is trying to get at is like all of these are gonna end up looking the same, you know, once they get covered in coralline algae a year from now.
Right.
But day one, you want an Insta-Tank. I will say the white rock here tends to show algae and bacterial films and stuff the most. You have those exact same types of things that are growing on these darker surfaces, and you just don't see them.
Yeah.
So we're gonna rule out the white types of rock for this. Eventually they'll all end up in the same place a year from now. But if you want it Insta-Tank day one, which is the best of 2019?
We're split.
Yep,
so
we are.
For me, I really like this Carib Sea Life Rock stuff. The purple color, the texture, to me looks more similar to this Red Sea Max tank to my right here than, you know, this other purple one. But I really like the color on this one. They really hit it. And then there's the shapes that are fun to aquascape.
Yeah, so they do have shapes in there. So they come in like little guys here. You can see that there's like a little tunnel in there and whatnot. So that is one of the cool things about that thing. They all do. And I think actually Real Reef has some shapes that we don't stock right now. And so that's probably going to hit best of 2020 to bring those in. But so for me, I'm going to deviate from that. And this is just an aesthetic thing. So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just whatever appeals to you. We'll show them both underwater here so you can actually see, you know, which one it is that like really appeals to you. Because out of the water like this doesn't really give a great representation of what it's going to look like. So for me though, it is the Real Reef rock here that looks best. I just like the color purple that it is. It's a deeper purple, which kind of matches some of the older tanks. You know, this tank's been up for 5 years and just tends to have deeper color coralline algae on it. Yeah. You can see all the worms and the super rough edges to it. It just looks a little bit more natural to me. It is like a little bit more expensive. One of the benefits of this guy also in terms of looking best day one is it's been like soaked live for many months to get it cycled. And again, you can see all the worms and stuff that grew on it. And when you get it, it's wrapped in a wet paper to keep a lot of the bacteria and stuff alive. That bacteria that's already existing on the surface of the rock will make sure that it cycles faster, including some of those bacteria that like to eat algae and whatnot or outcompete them. So for me, looks best day one, going to be the easiest to cycle. It's probably going to be this Real Reef stuff right here because it's partially live, looks good, and already has some live critters already on it. All right, so best or easiest to aquascape in 2019. I'm gonna say there's been major advances this in all fronts, and there's no real winner because they're all like really so much easier to aquascape than like the old Fiji boulders that you just used to stack on top of each other and super hard to create the things you're looking for. So we'll just start with some benefits of the different ones, and you can decide for yourself which ones are here. You'll definitely hear our favorites through the mix, but like this is definitely a personal decision. We'll let you make up your own decisions.
Yeah,
so this one.
I mean, the Carib Life Rock, you have some of the standard, rock type shapes, but what's really cool about this stuff for me is like going back to the shapes here. Like this is like not naturally or one in a very few chance naturally occurring shape here. Obviously a man-made rock here, but I mean, it gives you something to play around with in your tank. You can make these archways, you can make these different caves and type of caverns for your fish to hide in. It's just a really cool aspect of the aquascape.
So if you're super nitpicky, you would say, I don't like that because it is like obviously not a shape a rock comes in. It doesn't come in a cave like that. But I would say in action, when you see it in the tank, you would never ever say anything like that. It looks really cool. And it is a shape that you cannot do. And I keep saying shapes, it's because they have a shapes version of the rock. And I think it's a little bit more expensive, but you get molded pieces instead of just a rock per se. So so that makes this a lot easier to aquascape. You want to make caves and overarching stuff. The same thing here is one of the things I always liked about the Marco rock is how the two edges like just interlock with each other and then create this super stable form. And so that wasn't again the way with Fiji and even Pukani and stuff. It was really hard to create seamless aquascapes like this that you want to do. I mean, we just piled the stuff up in what, like a minute and a half.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the same thing here. All of this stuff is really rough edges that just kind of really lock together into itself. Now with the Real Reef, it's super easy to stack this stuff to create. And one of the things that they have now also is like branch rock and stuff. And when Terrence was here doing a live, he in his tank, when it got all full of coral, he would just take a branch and put it into the normal aquascape, and then he could put a coral on the branches, and it just starts to fill in. Right.
Yeah.
So cool things you can do with aquascaping here. But like one of the favorites lately has definitely been the shelf rock.
Since I've seen Joe aquascape our 750 XXL with this shelf stuff and seen him do Greg Carroll's tank, this stuff has caught my eye. Being an SPS stickhead, my biggest thing with like the old Pukani of the old and Fiji of the old was it's rounded surfaces, it's not flat surfaces. So SPS is hard to find real estate to put your sticks and allow them to grow out because they're going to take up a lot of space down the road. In which case, the more surface area, the more flat surface area I can get, the better. So when that 750 grows out with all of these different flat shelf type areas, you're just going to see all the more coral, less rock.
Yeah, it's also like if you can imagine like for a display purpose in your tank, if you had like tiers of egg crate, right? It would look terrible as a display tank, but you get the most coverage for the corals in there, right? You can create those kind of natural tiers with this shelf rock, and it fits together, and you can put your little caves and stuff in it the same way. And this isn't the greatest representation of that, but you can go watch the aquascaping episode of the BRS Hybrid XXL 750. You can see how they really put together. Greg Carroll had an example of his tank in that episode too, and you can see like the shelf stuff looks really, really, really cool and put together. And so this is probably like one of my favorites or easiest to aquascape. If you've never aquascaped before, you're probably going to produce something really cool with the shelf reef saver from Marco Rocks. Okay, so this is kind of a strange one, but best for bare bottoms, really. This has been like a growing theme for a lot of people is to go to bare bottom tanks. I've seen it for like 10 years now, and it just kind of keeps creeping up for different reasons. And but really for the foundation of almost any aquascape, and best of 2019 is called?
It's the Marco Rocks Foundation. Now this is the same type of shelving type rock, but only this time they flattened out the side, which this stuff can be hard to cut on your own. If you wanted to do it, you could probably do it, but I mean, it's going to take a lot of work. They've done it for you. The best part here is, for me, is like it lays flat on your bare bottom, which makes this super stable base. I've had a bare bottom tank before, a couple of them, and I've used like the Pucani and the Fijis and stuff, and you just can't find a flat piece. So what I ended up doing is like taking a piece and propping it up underneath with another little rock and kind of just supporting the base of it so it doesn't roll, or it has less tendency to roll. This flat stuff lays flat on the bare bottom.
So there's two things really for me, is it's stable, so when it's flat like this, it lays flat on the bottom of the tank.
Yeah.
So it doesn't roll anything, but it looks seamless, like the rock is like coming out of the bottom.
Really cool,
right?
yeah.
So on bare bottoms, it's absolutely the coolest look. It is definitely worth a couple extra bucks for the bottom pieces. You pick up 3 or 4 of them, so that the bottom piece. But I'll say that even if you're using other Marco rock out here and have sand, this is the stablest bottom you can have. And again, what will happen now is instead of having this big round rock that like comes around the edges and whatnot, and you can kind of see it come out, this will look like it's emerging out of the sand and looks super natural. So I would use this on the foundation of almost anything, and it's kind of like one of those unknown pieces, like I don't know how to use it until somebody tells you, and you're like, oh man, that is super cool.
Yeah,
it works exactly the way you thought it would. So best for bare bottoms as well as the foundation of almost anything. And one other thing, then also on bare bottoms is you really have a hard time keeping detritus and stuff out from underneath rocks, like it's just going to collect. With this, that is not the case. It's really difficult for it to get under there, and so like it is a much better option for that purpose. All right, so similar note, best in show 2019. This is a total personal decision, but my belief from myself is that it's the foundation rock here with the Marco shelf rock on top of it. It's not the best looking day one, but long term it provides the like shelf look that I want. It looks super sharp, and the surface area for all of the corals I want to put on it. And so I think over the long term is going to produce the type of tank that I want. I don't blame anybody for picking something different, but for those looking for advice, so maybe you're a bit different, let us know.
I mean, it's my choice. No, I have to pick the same. And when being a stickhead, SPS, I love to see these big, giant colonies, and to provide them with the best available space to base out and foundation for them to kind of make this tabling colony. This stuff does better than anything else I've done as far as other rocks. So I'm in the same boat. When I'm going to start thinking about my next tank, I'm going to buy a bunch of this stuff and get it in the bucket, get it to cycling right off the bat, so that way I can aquascape with, get my tank up and go.
So the only thing, caveat to that for me is the dry rocks of the world are what I call intermediate to advanced reefer stuff. And it's a little bit more challenging for a new reefer in some cases. And so, if best in show, if you're a brand new reefer and you're looking, really to have like instant success and have a much easier time ramping it up, it's worth the few extra bucks to make sure that you get the right thing. In this case, my personal belief is it's going to be the real Reef rock. It looks purple day one, so it looks nice in the tank day one. It's going to come with that bacteria on it. It's going to make it easier to cycle for you, and less likely probably to run into algae issues and stuff. And even if you do run into those issues, some of those issues are a lot harder to see on the purple surface. So visually the tank's just going to look around. So if you're brand new to reefing and you're looking for something that's going to produce maybe an easier path to the best results, it's probably this. If you're intermediate to advanced reefer, you got a little bit more patience. This isn't your first rodeo, and that's I think Randy and I here.
Yeah.
So that would be the shelf rock with the foundation in almost every case. All right, so what we'd like to see for 2020, always a fun one for me. What's the first thing that you'd like to see?
For me, I mean, it's hard to decide on if I got a 40-gallon breeder tank or 120-gallon tank. I mean, there's some standard-sized tanks out there that you can build a bundle kit for me, or give me some examples of an aquascape and be like, yeah, I want that, and just send me that. I've got the same tank. So, a bundle type of kit with everything I need, whether it's foundation, shelves, or just regular rock shapes. Give me some options, and then send me that option.
So I agree. In the spirit of kits as well, like, so there's a huge opportunity here. Like, there's some things that can make starting a tank like way easier. And I got rock here. Why not send me like a starter kit with it? I mean, like a vial of different colors, a coralline algae or whatnot. Maybe some nitrifying bacteria. Maybe like some bacillus bacteria or bacteria that like to eat algae. Like a little, you know, something like the vibrant. So like right from the beginning, I'm maybe avoiding some of the algae stuff. But like, here's your dry rock. Here's your little kit to be successful. I like to see that kind of stuff packaged with it. And in reality, I'd like to see somebody take these things and like turn them live.
Oh yeah.
You know, so like, let's get back to live rock. You know, there aren't a lot of sources for actual live rock coming out the ocean these days, so like that's kind of dried up. But like, let's take some of these things, you know, and aquaculture them or whatnot, and like hopefully in a sterile environment rather than the ocean actually.
Right.
And like bring them back, and then we can have the best of both worlds. We're not like taking stuff out of the ocean. I have a stable source. It is a little easier to cycle for all the people out there. But yeah, get a kit, get it live, get a kit for the actual sizes and shape for a tank rather than just poundage. All of those things would be really awesome for 2020. All right, so if you want to see that 750 XXL that Joe did, you can watch him do the Aquascape down here. But up here, you can go out and check all of these rocks out. You can see all the different shapes that this stuff comes in, all the different options for the real reef rock, all the different options here. There's little pedestals even. There's a foundation. There's thin little slices. You can see all of the different rocks that are available and kind of make your own choice. So you can see that up here.